Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson, Colette Morales with Veterans in Politics. Colette's an Air Force veteran that's helping us out today for the special broadcast. Our guest is going to be Tony Lane, Nevada's congressional candidate for District Number 4. And we had a power outage, so if you guys are watching the live feed, we had to redo everything and come back. But just wanted to bring up about our Valentine's Day ball. We have a Valentine's Day ball February 19th. Which is a Saturday at South Point. 5 to 6 is a cocktail hour, and 6 to 11 is the program. Make sure you get your tickets. You can get your tickets on veteransinpolitics.org or Eventbrite. Colette, you have anything?
Hi, good morning again. Welcome if you're still here with us.
This feels like Groundhog.
Yeah.
Mr. Lane.
What's going on, Big Steve?
Tell us about yourself.
I'm doing great. First of all, if you're new to the cast, I just want to say that I appreciate Steve and Veterans in Politics and Colette for having me to come out here and speak with you guys today and talk about some of these crazy things that's going on with our current administration. But I'm originally from Philadelphia. I've been in Las Vegas over 20 years, came to UNLV, played for UNLV, which stands for You'll Never Leave Vegas. That's why I stayed here, made it my home. After college, I went and
What degree do you have?
Criminal justice. Okay. Back to blue, of course, 100%.
Back to blue.
Definitely.
Okay.
I actually tried to get on, but I'll tell you about that a little later.
Right.
And I went overseas after college, Colette, and toured, Europe, Lebanon, South America, learned a little bit of Spanish, and then came back and made Vegas my home.
Tell us about Lebanon a little bit.
Lebanon was, I wasn't there too long.
Close your mic. Keep going.
Okay, I wasn't there too long. I was there only probably a couple of months, if I remember, and the Syrian government were there to so protect them from.
Right.
Hold on, sorry.
I was like, your mouth is not all
We
the
got
way
it?
down to your belly, is it there, Mr. Lane?
Hold on. We got me?
There you go. Go up a little
I
bit.
got you. Hold up. My hands is wet. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Good enough?
Yeah.
Try to talk loud. There we go. So, like I was saying, in Lebanon, the Syrian government were there to so protect them, so they made it kind of harder for me over there. Right. For a lot of us as Americans, we had to do too many checkpoints and check-ins, and guns were drawn plenty of times, not to harass us, but just to show that their toughness, their intimidation. But the Lebanese people were great, of course, while we were over there, and playing over there was a good experience. We ate tons, and it was a great experience overall. Coming back home here to Vegas.
So why didn't you go professional? Or was that professional ball?
That was professional ball. Anytime you leave the United States to go play for pay, so to say, you're over there as a professional athlete. Okay. And like I said, I was able to tour.
You couldn't get on with the NBA?
I tried. What happened is the more you continue to try and not get in, the harder it is, for you, and, money, and it just makes it a very hard situation.
Right.
Your mic.
Grab your mic, Steve.
Oh, snap. I'm talking about your mic. My mic's sitting on the table.
Blaming on the outage. It's all right.
So it makes it harder to get into the NBA. So you want to try to go earn something if you can, and, continue your passion. So that's why I went overseas.
So tell us the boundary lines for CD4.
Nye County, definitely North Las Vegas, a little bit of West Vegas, of course, Mesquite, Mount Charleston, and they're going to redistrict us real soon. So they're going to try to do whatever they can possibly do, Colette. So
you're close to CD2, right?
Yes, and some CD3. A little bit too.
A little bit of CD3.
Yep. Okay. And on the east side, so they have us all over, just a tiny spot on the east side over there, so they can try to get some of the Latinos in the district.
Get some of the Latinos.
Yeah.
And today they're discussing the redistricting in the county commission chambers at 11. So
yes, which is major. It's major.
Yes.
And it's going to shape the district.
Yes.
And when I said to get to Latinos, it's important. It's 50%. In our district, so they need a voice, Steve, and we need some new leadership over there, Colette.
So why are you running?
Just that. Absent leadership, not a voice, children jumping out of roofs throughout the pandemic, no place to turn, no foreseeable future, anybody in the small business. And once again, I've been in Vegas over 20 years.
Right.
So I see the changes that is going on.
Okay.
And with the loss of President Trump, with an asterisk, I figured that be the change you want to see. I heard that statement. I said, that has to be me right now, because either I'm crazy or I'm really going to do something great for our country and our city and state.
So before
So
you entered the general election against Stephen Horsford,
Yes.
who, by the way, folks, if you don't know, he doesn't live here. He lives in D.C. and you could say, yeah, you know, he lives in D.C. because he's over there doing congressional stuff, but his wife lives in D.C. too, and his kids live in D.C. So you decide where he lives.
Yeah, he's not even drinking the same water or breathing the same air. That's that slogan.
I believe his wife is a school teacher in D.C. I'm not positive if that's her occupation, but I believe that's true.
Yes.
So you have to pass the primary. So what makes you different? Because there's a Samuel Peters who's in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you different than him?
Well, Sam's a cool guy. Definitely a former veteran and stuff, and he stands for some good values. One of the thing that differentiates me from Stam is that I'm relatable in the district. I just mentioned that the district is 50% color, and which race shouldn't have no meaning into this, but when you're speaking to over 600,000 constituents that have been manipulated by this current administration, it definitely means a lot. Remember, we're the party of facts over feelings. Well, they won an election by using their feelings. And my words, my immediate conversation to a lot of the minorities in our district, which is half the district, would resonate very well, better than Samuel Peters.
So wouldn't the other half resonate towards Sam Peters?
Not necessarily. Recently, Sam Peters ran in this race in 2020 or whatever, and he lost against Jim Marchant. And Jim Marchant went on to run against Stephen Horsford, and Stephen Horsford won that election. If Jim Marchant possibly think he could win CD4 again as a congressional candidate, he would have ran the race after defeating Samuel Peters the first time. It doesn't make Sam inadequate to run in this district, but Tony Lane is a constitutional conservative. I understand how to speak to independents. I understand how to speak to the Latin community. Sam needs to learn a little bit better how to speak to the Latin community. That's very important, the Latino community, right? DACA is a list that has over 800,000 people on it. Understand that that's a sensitive list, put in office 2012. And Sam said, deport all illegals. So you might want to check some of the things that in CD4 are important to the people and the constituents in our district, and I can relate those.
So let me ask you a question. If Sam Peters was black, would you run in the same race?
Yes, I would. Yes,
Why?
I would, because Tony Lane, like I said,
what would be your platform this time?
I'm a leader. I can relate to the people. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I understand manipulation. I understand the Democratic Party, how they have a stranglehold on us since 1964. I can go into the district. I can communicate with every single individual at every door. I've been to Lebanon, Cyprus, Argentina. United States is my home. I'm well-rounded. I'm flexible.
Right.
I understand how to listen.
But he was a major in the Air Force. Isn't that considered a lot of leadership doing something like that?
Great.
And he went to a whole shitload of countries too.
He definitely had.
More than what you just mentioned there.
And he probably have. And he had a different mission while he was there doing that. Tony Lane is serving our country, which is a great honor. And I appreciate him for doing that, you know, and veterans like Colette as well. And I didn't serve. So I do not come up and never talk about, you know, overly talking about the military from a serving standpoint, right? I'm always here to learn and understand you guys. And that's the flexibility in that. Being able to relate to people who haven't served in the military. There are a lot of independent voters who don't believe that.
Isn't Nellis part of CD4?
Yes.
So you got Nellis, that's in CD4.
Yes.
You got Creech Air Force Base, that's CD4.
Yes.
You have the VA hospital is in CD4. So do you think that because of all these military or veteran areas that are in active military and the veterans that are in CD4, don't you think that he could relate to the people? And plus he's white, so that's half of the population, right?
Of course.
So you got that half of the population that's white that he
Yes.
could relate to, and then you got the other part of it that are veterans that he could relate to. So that might take up what? Another 15% maybe?
15%. It just may. And real quick, like I stare at the audience, how much does it take to relate to you guys with this current administration, with all the debacles that's currently going on? They all see the things that are plaguing our city and our country. At the end of the day, it's our policies. It's being able to go to Washington, right, and defeat the incumbent Stephen Horsford. This is not about Tony Lane. It's about that in our primaries, of course. But at the end of the day, you're looking at a candidate who could stand eye to eye and defeat Stephen Horsford, which wins us the House back.
So are you saying? I told you this was not going to be an easy interview. Are you saying if are you running in this race because of the color of your skin? Because
Definitely
Horsford,
the color of my skin.
Because Horsford is black and you're black, and you figured that you could get the Republican vote because you're black.
Definitely not. First of all, running this race because of the color of my skin.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we know who the current congressman is,
Right.
and it's Stephen Horsford. We obviously understand that this is a sensitive time ever in the history of our lives. No other time in your life or any of the people watching this video currently have ever seen the tyrannical oppression that this administration is trying to put on us. So there's no relatability to any of that. It's more about who's going to stand up, who's going to not be compromised, who can complete conversations to the other side of the aisle, and who can get things done. That's what this is about. At the end of the day, my verbiage may not be as good as some of my candidates that I'm running up against in CD4. They may have colleagues. They may have a lot more of the, like I said, some backgrounds that may relate to some other groups of individuals. But Tony Lane is a business owner. I'm a coach of young children. I'm also a private school owner. At the end of the day, growing up in a minority community, a manipulative, duped community right now, as you see with this current administration, we need new leadership. They're tired of the same old establishment, 7 through 10 Republican platforms that people are going to clap for. We got to be able to get some independence in here. Tony Lane can get that done.
Are you familiar with CD4 when it first was introduced to Nevada? Let me just give you a little history of CD4, because I've been living in CD4 since 2003. I've been living in CD4 when it was actually CD3. Okay.
Hardy.
You had Crescent Hardy, right, who became the congressman twice. White guy.
Yeah, twice or once?
Twice.
Okay.
Twice. He became, was it twice or once? No, he became congressman.
Once?
No, I think once. He became
Once?
Congressman once.
Yes.
You got Reuben Kuhn,
Yeah.
Latino guy. Crescent Hardy is a white Republican. Reuben Kuhn, Hispanic Democrat. And then you got Stephen Horsford, who became Congress twice in CD4, who's a black Democrat.
Yeah.
So CD4 is quite
multi. It's definitely
multi.
And
And I live in CD4, so I'm the one that's gonna vote. Not only do I live in CD4, Colette lives in CD4, and between me and her, we know a lot of people, huh, Colette, in CD4. So it's not just gonna be us voting. It's gonna be like, come on, people, let's all go vote.
100%, definitely,
You know?
And a ton of independents as well, right? And people that we have to communicate to that are concerned now
So
more than ever.
I just wanted to know if and I like Sam Peters.
That's cool.
You know, we supported him last time when he ran for CD4 against Marchant.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Marshawn too, but we supported Marshawn in different races. I believe it was Assembly. But I want to know if Sam Peters, was, because that's who you got to beat
Of course.
to get to Horsford.
Yes.
If Sam Peters was a African American,
Yes.
and he is a major in the Air Force,
Yes.
or was, and he's a business owner as well,
Of course.
and he ran in that seat before, I want to know if you would still run against this guy.
Yes, I would.
Because rumors are saying, this is what rumors are saying.
Okay.
Rumors are saying that Tony Lane is in this race because the color of his skin, because he figured that he could beat Stephen Horsford because Stephen Horsford is black. So Tony Lane is a black Republican. Stephen Horsford is a black Democrat. So people are telling me that Tony Lane, the only reason why Tony Lane is in this race is because he is black.
Tony Lane is a constitutional conservative.
So
Tony Lane cares about what's going on currently.
Sam Peters would say the same thing.
And
He's a
I don't know if he
constitutional
would say this. I
conservative.
don't know to say. I don't know what he would say because I don't pay attention truly to what he says. I just know that Tony Lane has a message that have to be delivered to a group of people who are willing to first listen to anything we have to say as conservatives, as Republicans. Let's not sit up here and act like people are trying to listen to everything that we have to say as conservatives and as Republicans. Tony Lane has a voice, like I say. I have a way of communicating with people, showing respect.
Right.
And if it's given back, it's always reciprocated.
Okay.
Definitely. Tony Lane, once again, been through so many. See, what's an important thing about, a lot of people say we're running the country and et cetera, and you see Joe Biden as the CEO of the United States and his job is to govern, and we've seen look at what he's done to the country, right? Bare shelves Biden, this is a disaster, right? Crime rate is up. Sometimes when you're talking about some of the issues that are going on in the community and that are really plaguing our neighborhoods, it has to be the right tone, has to be the right deliverance, has to be the right message.
So Tony, what are some of the issues that you find important that you want to actually change? What are these super important issues for you?
For one, the voter situation, the manipulation. Who in this room and here don't agree that we need ID to vote? The manipulation of a massive groups of people. A socialist agenda is trying to be implemented here in our city and our state. Also, our school systems, Colette, you think about it.
Do you know what our school's rated? How we're rated?
47th and 40. It's failing.
We're
How about that?
50th
We're
now.
now 50th.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, Vegas deserves better. 50th?
Well, this has been going on for
Yeah.
years now, and everybody talks about it, and we're still 50th.
Yeah, like what's your plan to raise our ranking? Like because there's a lot of folks that are upset. We have people coming into the state and into the city, changing things, right?
Yes.
But then we also have a lot of folks leaving. I'm in real estate. I know the amount of, I'm reading the stats every day, folks coming in and out from other states and so many folks leaving. And one of the biggest issues is our school system. How people that want to stay and build a family, how do we retain? Because our retention, that's part of the issue. When I moved here, I was never going to leave, or never going to stay here, and I ended up staying, right? Because life turned out this way. But my number one reason for leaving was for the school systems, right? And not everybody can afford to get their kid into private school, and then you have to sit there in 3 years of waiting for my kid to get into a charter school, right? And then the school system was corrupt. That her school was corrupt, and they had to shut down. And so then we're back at public school. That was now the best option. And now her school has 40 kids in a classroom. So what is going to change? Because it's not getting it. When I moved here, it was like 46th, and 12 years later, we're at 50. It's gotten worse, right? And every candidate says they're going to make a difference and they're going to change it, but nobody's done anything. So I'm curious, what is it that you're going to bring that's actually going to change?
Well, it was hard to see that. I don't know the last Republican candidate in office in CD4 if they were to implement school choice, because the first day Tony Lane's in office, we're going to draft that bill up and get that done immediately. Also, we're going to work with our school administrators and deal with the egregious teacher behavior, their grading system. You mentioned our grading system. How about the teacher's grading system?
But you know that the school system is the county.
Of course.
Okay, so you have to deal with the trustees.
Yes.
Right. And they're in shambles right now because they're looking to toss out the superintendent, Jara.
Yeah.
And Congress is federal.
Mm-hmm.
So to piggyback on Colette's question, how are you going to take a federal mandate, which governs the entire nation? Because you don't just speak for Nevada, you're speaking for the country.
For the country, exactly.
Right? So how are you going to take a federal mandate to improve the school system?
Vegas, we're at an emergency level here, with our failings, our children here in the state of Nevada. One of the things we do in Congress is, what do? We appropriate funds, okay? We appropriate funds here to the state of Nevada. If you're going to side with every radical left, tyrannical, oppressive nature that's going to keep our children into a socialist mindset, not teach history, government, remember, have them manipulate them with critical race theory, which I'll ban the moment if I can get elected to Congress, I will ban CRT because it's a racist, divisive piece of trash, that they're trying to teach our American students.
And Michelle Fury brought that up in her announcement for governor about critical race theory.
She should, because it's obvious that Nevada is a great state, and here we are with these dismal numbers at 50th and failing our school systems. And
they don't have books. She hasn't had a book to take home in any public school. Right? How is that okay?
Because the administrators,
the English teacher reads the books that I read in school. I had to go home and read, right? And some kids do the Cliff Note version instead. They go by the Cliff, but the teacher reads the book in the classroom in high school. This is what our teachers are spending their time doing. That's bizarre to me because we don't have funds. Yeah,
well, and that's a direct representation of our current Congress.
Sorry to cut you off, Mr. Lane, because Colette brought up a very good point about not having funds. Several legislations ago in Carson City, we passed recreational marijuana.
Of course.
Okay, which was a state mandate. We passed that with the notion that we're going to use these dollars for school education, as far as raising teachers' pay and getting supplies and equipment, maybe even building more schools because Nevada is growing.
Yes.
Thank you, California. Nevada is growing. Nobody knows where that money is. Well, maybe they do know where it is, but it's not being used for what they said it was being used for. As a congressman, how could you find out where these dollars are and force our governor, or try to put a referendum so our governor could actually use those dollars to improve our school system, because that's what those dollars was for. A lot of people voted for recreational. A lot of people voted for recreational marijuana against their own principle, because they were told that it was going to be used for school education, and it's not.
Over $1 billion.
Is it? Did they use that for the Allegiant Stadium?
They may have. It was 159 million was supposed to come to the school system or something like that, because as a congressman,
is it in their rainy day fund?
I have no idea. That's what we're talking about. It's once again, it's the overuse of spending, right? Remember, when Democrats are in office, just spend, tax. Somebody's got to foot the bill. The Constitution says it best, right? If you borrow enough money in your lifetime that you can't pay back, it's theft. So somebody has to get bought up on that. And when you think about Nevada, nothing When Tony Lane get elected to Congress, there's a team that works with me. Remember, and I'm going to have an amazing group of individuals around me that will help us.
Do you have a team now for your campaign?
Team manager, yes, of course. I got a Latina manager as well. So I definitely got a couple of people. Always looking for more volunteers and more people that want to help the America First agenda.
Without giving your exact address, where in CD4 roundabouts do you live?
I was in Craig in MLK area, right where the change is.
Oh,
like Craig MLK. But some situations took me a little bit outside of the district. So currently I'm fiddling on the line outside of the district. But like I said, it's necessary. This is bigger than Tony Lane.
So you're on the border of CD4?
Yeah, CD4 and 3. Yes, I'm outside. Yes, currently.
And just for the record, you don't, according to the way our laws are, you don't have to live in the congressional district you're running for. But if you want to represent those constituents, you should live in that district.
You should. And also you should make sure that if you think that you're going to run into run election or be a candidate, that you have those people in your district's best interests at heart. Mm-hmm. Understand that's important, right? Everything's a numbers game. Everything's rhetoric terms and blasey this, but that's nowadays. Remember, people are more feelingly involved with what's going on politically, and they don't have all the facts, right? They can't go look at Newsmax, OAN, and all the conservative stations we watch all the time to see currently what's always going on. We got some great candidates in CD3, and I think that we do have a candidate who can win in CD3, believably. And a candidate who's already
talking about
in there.
CD4.
And then in CD4, of course, I know. And then in CD4, I was going to say that our goal is to win the House back, right? To bring America back to where it was, to preserve our great country.
And where was America?
We won't have time. We were net suppliers of energy, right? Our borders were strong. Our constitutional amendments were not at stake in every single one. Our morale was up. We were more of a dominant figure.
What administration are you referring all this to?
The Trump administration, the previous administration, one of the greatest presidents that the Black community has ever had. That administration, the administration that had the strongest borders, and look at our energy crisis. Look at the gas pump. Look at the shells. We will have a Christmas. I promise you. God is better. God is good. The attacks on the churches. Look at the Middle East. You guys are veterans. You guys understand. You see what just happened in Afghanistan. That would have never happened under the previous administration's watch. Currently, jumping around, 1.7 million illegal immigrants have come through the border so far. We're suffering a 90% or more fentanyl crisis here in the United States.
You brought up all these different things. So explain. What do you see that's wrong with our immigration policy? And if you were in office, how would you make change to that?
We'll finish the wall. We'll build the wall.
Where would you get the money from? We're spending, what was it, $3 trillion in infrastructure?
We're not going to pass that. We're not going to do that. That's why they're sitting up there. They could have used reconciliation to pass that bill, but they want Republicans and conservatives to join in with their debacles and all their blunders. And that's not going to happen. So that's why they have to lower that bill. Understand that it costs us more money to not have the wall. Look at the humanitarian crisis that is currently going on at our border.
So where would you find the money to build the wall or to finish the wall?
There are plenty of federal funds that we're using in foreign disasters that we can allocate the money back here to the United States to build this wall. Mexico can help foot the bill for the wall. The border countries that are sitting there.
Trump tried that.
Well, Trump tried it, but Trump's rhetoric wasn't right for a lot of people. His actions were, but the rhetoric wasn't. And now people are saying the actions were better than the rhetoric. So at the end of the day, you got to be able to communicate on the other side. What's in this for them? What's in this for you is not caravans of hundreds of thousands of people coming into your country, right? And decimating your country and harming your women and your children, things that are not being reported. national security is our number one jump into the foreign policy situation, which would help with a ton of things currently, suicides and just, I mean, we can go on, Steve.
You brought up Afghanistan. What do you see is wrong, and how would you would have did something different?
Well, gives me chills sitting next to Colette here, who knows and has a very strong feeling of the situation in Afghanistan, and just knowing that we were in that country 20 years. There have been people from the United States that were Afghani Americans that I went over there to help us, and children grew up back and forth, understanding their parents and, our Americans. It is our duty to not turn our back on our Americans, the work we've done, the amount of money we've put down in Afghanistan, and also our allies over there, the people that we, went over there to help. And we've done a great job of that. $85 billion worth of military equipment left over there. That's the biggest foreign blunder in probably the history of America. Drone strikes, with children that nobody was called out on, Millie, or nothing like that. Nobody was held accountable. So in 2022, it'll be a great year for us new congressmen to investigate some of those situations. It's just, we definitely need to change, Steve.
Colette?
I'm good at the moment.
You got more. In the meantime, while Colette is over there thinking about her question, I got some questions that was sent to me. Mm-hmm. Your opponent has tweeted that she'd like to repeal
Carolina Serena had said somehow she wanted to repeal.
Let me finish read the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Wow.
The act that ultimately made sure blacks didn't have to ride at the back of the bus as a black man. Does that concern you?
Well, yes, it concerns me because, and hopefully she'll check out this interview, Carolina. Please say something else about that, because the Democratic Party, their whole job, they have it down to a science to focus on everything a conservative says and put us all in the same checkbox. So when somebody's making that type of statement and basically being divisive, totally what Joe Biden would want right now, to have people clap like seals at a circus to any divisive behavior like that, that is just a terrible statement, to be made. And hopefully she can answer to that.
There's three. One is a fundraising question. You're running for CD4 in a race that traditionally requires a couple $100,000 to get you out of the primary. You've raised $4,000 so far. Is that a true statement?
Yep, a little bit around that, a little bit more.
How do you plan on overcoming Horsford if you did get out of the primary, knowing that he has over 1 million so far?
And that 1 million probably that he has, other than being a career politician, if you were doing a great job, it's okay to stay in office. But if you're just getting milked from the regime and just getting money thrown at you to help, like I say, pass these bills that are hurting half the 700,000 people that are in our district, then what does that money do? For me, it's more about getting out there, Steve. I'm not a career politician. I speak from the heart, and I speak a lot from learning and understanding and listening to you all. That's why we're going to Washington, right? To represent the Constitution, not rewrite it. And one of the things Tony Lane has got to get better at is that little part of the politician part of every time I walk out of a room, please leave $5, $10 or $15. That will help the campaign and take it a long way. I think that once Tony Lane gets to a more of a media standpoint, that I'll be a national candidate and I'll raise a lot more money.
So do you remember Jesse the Body Ventura,
of course,
who was governor of Minnesota? His opponent, who ran as an independent, by the way.
Yeah.
Both his Republican opponent and his Democrat opponent far outraised him by millions of dollars. Yes. But he was unorthodox, right? Mm-hmm. So he came out of his box and he did little quirky commercials and stuff like that. But he was more of a grassroots type of guy.
Exactly.
So are you going to be something like what Jesse the Body was when he ran for governor and won?
100%. Currently, that's all I am today. I haven't ran before, Colette. This is the first time I'm running.
Knocking on doors.
I'm knocking on doors. I'm in the
Showing up
the
at bowling
hoods.
alleys.
Everywhere I can show up,
you at
Tony Lane
daycares?
is there. Definitely. Now, you're right. You got to be, and that's very important, so we can make sure we see what they're teaching them nowadays, right? With all this indoctrination, I try to be everywhere I can be. Grassroots is definitely me. I'm a coach. I'm always around the
Did he
youth.
knock on your door, Colette?
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Not yet. I haven't.
You
got
can't
over
knock
there
on mine
yet.
because I don't
You
have
know?
a front door.
Well, gated communities. No, I'm always going to be in
You have
it,
to
like I
jump.
say.
I'm here.
Jump
I'm
the fence,
here.
you might
I'm
get
like,
shot.
I'm here.
I'm going to do what they say conservatives and Republicans in our district haven't done. They say that a lot. They say that Republicans haven't been in CD4. Well, Tony Lane is always in CD4, you know, wherever.
You're on the border of 3.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying it from the standpoint of out in the district, you know, the youth homes, right? There's some recreational centers that we need to fix up. There's a lot of things going on. And if you're not going to get out in the district, you know, once again, some of these candidates are just hoping on the primaries. That's all they want to do is just maybe win the primary, know they'll lose the big general, and that was their claim to fame. Not me. Why would we do this to you guys? You understand, in order to run this race, you got to be serious. You got to be ready to go against the other side and get them people to understand that this is America, common sense policies. We're not going to oppress us all. We're not going to have tyrannical mass mandates. We're not going to take away your single family home ownership. We're not going to teach your children hate. We're not going to take us back to the 1960s. We've had a black president twice, was elected by white people when black people were still 13%, 14% of the minority. The systemic racism and this crap has got to go, and we need to show America that Nevada and Vegas can do some great things.
Before we get to my other questions that I have one more on here. As a newcomer to politics, what drives you to run for the federal office when there is so much? There was so much more offices at the state and local levels.
There's a ton, you know, and prior to me announcing that I wanted to run for, Congress.
That's like a big jump.
Congress is a very big jump, but we have no time left. Understand everything is getting taken from us. We're about to soon be starving, recognizing we'll be sisters and brothers of Cuba and Venezuela and these countries. If the time is now, when Tony Lane decided to get into politics, I said, what can I do to make a difference today? What would make a very impactful difference? What will change the trajectory of America if Tony Lane can get into Congress? I was an athlete, Steve. I was a running rebel. We understand the lights at UNLV, right? I love Nevada, originally from the state of Pennsylvania. You know, I've been all around the world. I understand people, and hopefully people can understand me. One of my things is truly to represent this country in the correct way as much as I can. And that's just following the Constitution. And Congress was that position to make an immediate difference and get the House back so we can stop all this crazy looniness and get everybody to common sense and common ground.
You know, former Congresswoman Shelley Berkeley got funding for the VA hospital. Did you know that?
I've heard vaguely.
Okay. So she's got funding for VA hospital, but that hospital doesn't take ambulance services. As a congressman, how would you make?
I actually have an update on that. They are actually taking them. They started.
When did that happen?
Adele told me just last week. They just started.
Last week. See, I didn't get the
just
update.
started, or this week. Like they started taking in ambulance. So if a veteran gets picked up, and because quite often I have one of my best friends works at the VA hospital emergency room. She's a charge nurse there. So what typically happens is they're called in and call the ambulance. Veterans are requesting and have been this entire time since the hospital's been there to go to the VA hospital, but they wouldn't take an ambulance, so they had to be rerouted elsewhere. Right. So now if a veteran does request, they're bringing them in. How many they're taking in at a time, I don't know. Like what
Oh,
that
wow, that's
looks
good
like,
to
but
know.
just
See, I
starting.
learned something on this show.
She's on it. She's definitely on it. We need to work with all the veteran administrative leaders over there.
Have you visited the VA hospital?
No, I have not. No, I have not. And I am going to go over there. We're going to set up a meeting. I spoke with my campaign manager. It was a certain way he wanted me to go do it. But definitely it's important that I get over there. We need the right people running the VA that understands veterans, first of all. We cannot put people in there that...
Right. Have you visited Nellis?
Yes, and need to do it again.
There's a hospital across from Nellis that a lot of vets go to. What's it called? Macanaran or I forget the name of that hospital. It's right across the street from Nellis. Have you?
Okay, no, I have not. This one, when I went to Nellis, this was back in the '90s. This
Actually,
wasn't
I
current
think
as
it's
a Congress.
part of
So
the
this was
Nellis Air Force Base, but it's on a different Nellis. The whole of Nellis is here. Then across the street, they got this hospital, and then they got the Nellis, the police, the police they have.
I'll
over
be
there.
over there, Steve, at every single, like I said, every place I can get to because people are concerned. Remember, they really don't know where we're going, where we're headed.
And CD4 has a lot of rurals.
Of course.
A lot, yeah.
Okay.
And I love the rural communities.
So you know how the Las Vegas Valley Water gives monies if you convert from sod to desert landscaping, right?
Mm-hmm.
And NV Energy, you get with IRS, you get like a tax break if you convert to solar, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if you want to convert from septic to sewer? Could you? There's no dollars to do that, and it costs between $18,000 and $30,000 to convert from septic to sewer. And one of the reasons why it'll be good to convert from septic to sewer because all that water that you're using could come back into the system, and
The only thing they currently have set up is, I think it's still the same thing. If you're on rural property, you can do the sod, but they're not going to do the septic. Like still, yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna work with, one of the things I've been to Pahrump a lot out there, and it's a great city, and there's some great constitutional conservatives. And when I say that, meaning living by it, right? And that's what they would like to see. And when it comes to, rights and things that are due in the state of Nevada, they definitely want their fair share. Our current congressman hasn't been nowhere near.
He brought up
any of
another
those.
important point for me as far as energy goes, right? Are you aware that Trump granted Warren Buffett, or however, whatever word is the right, gave him BLM to build a solar plant?
She means the Bureau
Yeah.
of Land Management.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matter of fact, just
Oh,
to
yeah, just to
piggyback
be
on
clear.
Colette here,
Thanks.
BLM
Yeah.
first started out as the Bureau of Land Management.
Yes.
Black
Yeah.
Lives Matter didn't start until a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
Okay,
Ferguson or whatever.
because I remember when I first heard BLM, somebody goes, "Hey, you gonna be down with the BLM?" I'm like, "What the feds doing here?"
Yeah.
Well, what was that to do with land? So BLM originally started out as the Bureau of Land Management,
Yeah.
but Black Lives Matter took it, stole it, ran with it. I don't know what they did with it. But if I was BLM, I would sue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you-
Thanks for that clarification.
Just like the WWF, which was World Wildlife Federation,
Wow.
and then the
Jim
wrestling
McMahon.
World
Stole
Wrestling
it.
Federation. They had to change World Wrestling. That's why World Wrestling Federation went to World Wrestling Entertainment, because of the World Wildlife Federation sued the World Wrestling Federation to go, look, I had that name before you guys. So
Yeah, I'm gonna work with them. Like I
So
said,
with my question regarding so they're building the plant, right? So I don't know if it's done, what the status is, and it was a company in Australia that contracted with Warren Buffett to build it, and we have to be, I think, by 2025 at X amount of solar renewable energy. And with that plant, once it's done, we're going to meet that need, and it's going to make it not feasible, not affordable for the local residents to get solar on their roof and to be able to take advantage of the federal tax. Because how can that?
Well, you mentioned Australia, and when I think about them, I think about what's currently going on in Australia. You know, the proposed New World Order, global tax, the uprising of the citizens, and we sided with them, having those people take away their guns and their weapons. America first policies, anything that we can do to help our city and our state, definitely lower the costs overall to help us, help America and working Americans.
Energy's going to keep going up.
It is.
NV Energy has the every quarter, if you pay attention to your energy bill, it's going up. What you're paying per kilowatt. And the only way you can lock it in is if you get solar. You get your solar, your rate's locked in today. It's never going to change, right? It's like if you could get gas purchase your gas at today's rate, that'd be great. But NV Energy is going to keep hiking it up, and I wouldn't be surprised if then all the energy that's being produced by these plants are then being routed out to California, Arizona, and then we here in Las Vegas, we're going to keep paying more for energy, more for water, as we keep sending all of our stuff out.
No way. Even though I said America first, it's definitely Nevada first. And these are all the current things going on under Stephen Horsford's watch. You know, we don't hear him speak out about any of that. None of these overbilling situations, these corporate CEOs that are trying to just make a buck off of our constituents. I'm not going to allow it to happen. Like I said, I'm going to work with some amazing people, if I can become a congressman, to put together some great, scenarios for us here in Nevada, and we will prosper. We'll get back to making Nevada great again, and let's just being happy, right, to be an American, to go in other countries and say, yeah, I'm from the USA, and that's a good thing, instead of being like, ugh, that's where we are right now, and we need to fix that.
So, as a congressman, what kind of federal mandates can you make to improve our water shortage that we have?
That's a good one.
Because, and the reason why I'm saying that, I mean, when I first moved here in '95, I don't remember seeing any white, with the line of where the water was in Lake Mead. I don't remember seeing any white in '95. Now it's like,
White's everywhere.
I look up and it's like gigantic, right?
Exactly.
But
That's how it was with me when I first came.
But we have all this construction going on everywhere you go. You look around, construction everywhere, buildings being put up.
We need more water.
People.
So I would do whatever we can.
So
most of our water is being sent out. The law was and Mexico. This law has been in place.
Mexico.
I don't know. Yeah, 30 years. It's been like 30 years at least. I don't know I can't remember how long this has been there, but the agreement, right? Because it's coming from the Colorado River, fills in, and we've been selling it out, and we actually use. I think as Las Vegas, it's less than like 25%. I don't think we get very little of the water.
I'm gonna be going this week. I'm gonna be working in Pahrump, talking about a ton of the water issues, to brush myself up on those, and to be A-OK, ready to get out there and talk about that 100%. So that way, anytime, I'll be very long-winded on our water issues. But I tell you what, you got more people in the city and state, you need more water, and I'm not for raising our prices. And then when I think of the energy, just every single thing that happened. The moment this man took office, tearing up, executive order, over 100 of them. Talk about unity.
Is we just keep some of our water and not,
of course.
We don't have to raise the prices. We get to keep some in California and Mexico and do some desalinization. Do something.
We're going to do a lot for Nevada, federal land. We deserve better here. We deserve more here.
Before we let you go, I want to know, because Congress vote if this country goes to war.
Yes.
Okay. I want to know, what would you look for as a congressman to vote for the United States to declare war on any nation?
our threat as a human life here, our threat as people here, thinking about our American.
But that's vague, though.
It's maybe vague, but I've never been asked that question. And a vague answer to me is basically telling the truth. America, we're always at a threat and at risk. Look at currently what's going on, right, with our open borders. Remember, that's why I said close the border. It's just not Central Americans or Mexicans coming through the border. We got terrorists. We got people from, that their whole goal is to annihilate America. So when it comes to war, is an imminent threat to America. Our like 9/11, you think about, how that disaster and which led us over into Afghanistan, and they were a safe haven for terrorists. And look what's happened since then. We've curbed that situation. And
have we?
So not all the way, of course, but you think about the previous president that was in office. You got China sitting right next to Taiwan, just playing with them every day. You got Russia playing with Ukraine. You had Hamas bombing Israel. You got North Korea at any time can do whatever they want. And China, who we're in their back pocket. We are not safe currently as a nation. And we need America First candidates and candidates that will say something vague, but will mean what they say because it's truly a common sense situation and issue. Just like our conservative values, right? That's why most people agree 7 out of 10 times with the Republican Party values. It's just simple here. It's common sense, Steve, and we've lost it. I don't know where America. I know where we're headed. We're going to make us back red again in 22, Colette, because it's needed. The military, they definitely need it. This administration, the handling with them. The morale is down with our police. They've been dehumanized. I mean, we have to. First of all, if you think about it, we got to get them back too and humanizing our police, right? Let's refund the police. I've been saying that for a long time. It's just so many things that comes up, and I don't want to sound redundant, but it's a cycle that we really need to take care of.
Colette, you have anything else?
I think my only last question would be, how do you see you can help unify our city and our people, and then take that nationally?
Is putting it back into the Constitution and letting people understand, to know what it is, and some of those amendments, right? To understand that these freedoms, these are our freedoms, right? These amendments were here for you. There's a certain group of people that truly understand the Constitution and understand who it's for, and it's for everybody and every American. And then you have a group of people who have been manipulated and have been led for a long time to believe otherwise. Once you can see somebody get up there and communicate with people who understand all walks of life, and within that walks of life, somebody out there can relate to that person speaking with just a little bit, then we could start there. But right now, with this divisive tone currently nationally, and with the indoctrination of our youth, the hate for the American flag, the taking out of the Pledge of Allegiance, the kneeling in sporting events, it's currently a mad society.
How about burning the flag in public?
That would never happen around, and see things like that. I don't even like to hear something like this, Steve. It's just these people have no place.
And they said that, well, you vets fought for our right to burn the flag, when us vets seen our comrades die in the name of the American flag, right? But then you civilians just decide to put a match to it and burn it, and we're supposed to be okay with that.
Because it's the respect.
Maybe there should be a federal law against that.
No, it definitely should be. It's going to be a lot of new federal laws come 22, and there's going to be a lot of laws. There's going to be a lot of bills that's going to get torn up. And it's only to protect America, right? We have to really get our country back, and we got to stop hurting you guys at the bank in your bank accounts and snooping on everything in your life.
Sorry, Mr. Lane. Before we let you go, because I got the short-term memory loss. Sometimes I forget stuff. But before we let you go, there are 2 federal laws that are being violated in the family court bench, but nobody has done anything about it. One of the federal laws is the Servicemen Civil Relief Act. Okay. The Servicemen Civil Relief Act is a federal law that says that any service member out of the jurisdiction of the court, the court has to automatically put a stay on the case. Nothing can happen until that service member is back into the jurisdiction of the court. But a lot of family court judges violate that law. The second federal law is the Veteran Service-Connected Disability Benefits. The Veterans Service-Connected Disability Benefits is not supposed to be used for anything. Can't levy it, can't bankrupt it. IRS doesn't even tax it.
Yes.
I mean, if the IRS don't tax it, why does a state judge violate that law? So there are no penalties for state judges to violate these laws.
Wow. Well,
So as a congressman, what type of mandate could you impose upon judges knowingly violate federal law without any repercussion at all?
accountability. Remember, it's just like with the teachers
And how would you
administration.
do that?
Well, you first of all, as a congressman, we put these federal courts there, right? And sometimes, when a president elects a federal judge, our Senate
I'm talking
has
about
the
state courts.
states. I'm just saying,
Okay.
in general, bringing it back
I
down.
don't think a
to-
federal judge is going to violate
Yeah,
a federal
yeah,
law,
no,
but a
no,
state
no.
court judge violates
Yes,
federal laws
yeah.
every day.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you got to communicate, right? You got to investigate. You got to make sure that these people are following the rules that are in place. We got to listen to people like yourself when you make those statements and make sure that they're on our agenda list to get to the right people, Steve, to get these situations taken care of. That's what this is about, right? That's the problem. Remember, everybody, Congress. No, I don't go to Congress unless I'm listening to you guys. I didn't come up with all these things that I have to, that I think, oh, this is all your way. No. So I'm listening to you and hearing you say that, just like I say, it's another thing on the list that I will communicate with their superiors because we're going to get that taken care of.
Well, so what would you do? Would you impose sanctions?
Yes, I definitely will hold them accountable.
Would
First of all,
would you make it
there's
criminal?
violations to the law.
Would
Yes.
you make it criminal?
Of course. If there's first of all, we have a constitution. Within the constitution, we have laws that you have to protect. Right, should be protected every single day, and your state has their constitution. Who's upholding that, right, Mr. Governor? Who's enforcing these laws? So that person will be called out, and it will trickle down. Remember, this state needs correct.
What I'm hearing is versus putting in a new law, it's more looking at the system itself. Is that what you're saying?
Because the Constitution was there to stand the test of times, right? And at the end of the day, they want us to rewrite it every day, Colette. That's what they want, and we need to enforce it. So we need to go to the Nevada Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. We need to enforce it, and currently it's not being forced. It's being played around with, right? The 10th Amendment, First Amendment. It's all these gray areas. And it shouldn't be. So your question falls somewhere in line with that because we had some great framers from Philadelphia when they made that to make sure that all these things that come about the founders, of course, all that information is within there somewhere. So somebody's dropping the ball. So we're going to find out in 22, and we're going to do a lot of new things here in Nevada. Actually, we're going to bring us back to some prosperity and some great times, but we're going to make us great again.
Okay. Do you have anything else that we didn't cover that you want to cover?
No, not at all. I appreciate you guys having me out. You're a great group. Steve, you're the man, definitely. And what we want to talk about is, local officers, if you guys are checking this video out, incident that happened some time ago. And this gentleman right here was a great gentleman and handled himself correctly. He followed all the law, all the lingo, everything that the officer wanted from this man, and the officer infringed his civil liberties. So one of the things I want to do is we're going to figure out how do we draw up a training, because you guys may have that in the district or something for them, but we wanted some type of officer training so that way in that situation, that does not happen again. And that's an easy one.
Yeah, and that's
so we could draw something up for them.
Studying criminal justice like that is a really good point, because I've thought many times why there isn't a national training program for officers, because I, in my own experience, have had many different situations where I've been pulled over because of the car I'm driving, and now I'm being racially profiled. And so I've seen what it looks like, right? And then they're like, oh, well, I didn't realize. an overly tinted black car rental, right? And it was
So she
overly
had a
tinted.
caddy with hydraulics and,
You're
some
going
bing
through
bing
it,
rims.
through, an all white area. And so, but so my question, have you ever thought of some sort of national training
Of course.
for
well,
cops? Like, what would that look like?
Well, and I'm not a police officer, and I can't
Yeah.
speak for one. And first of all, police officers do a tremendous and great job in the community trying to police our communities.
Absolutely.
There's there's a very few incidents that the media manipulates and gets on a national level and turn it out to dehumanize our police. My situation and his situation was, it's more about the procedures by that officer.
You're talking about when I got pulled over
Exactly.
and I said I had weapons in the car and they pulled me over and cuffed me.
Unbelievable the way they infringed on his
But
civil.
it's still, right. But it comes from different, like I think about the military, right? They have, everybody gets trained with the
Yes.
exact same thing. So when we go into any country, we know how to engage and what the rules of engagement are.
Exactly.
And I don't think there's any unity across the nation in the way it's done. And so but we are such a transient nation where we're constantly relocating. And so, and even as cops going to a new place and going to a new city, and the training's never consistent, right?
And one of these things, you know what to start from? First of all, respect. And it goes back to me bringing up that Constitution again. We're talking about police officers. When we were younger, we knew police officers in our community, right? We knew them by name. They can come past or something like that. If you were acting up, he may tell your mother. Where I'm from in Philadelphia, because, it's plagued with a lot of violence and crime in Philadelphia, in certain parts, heavily. And it's the respect we have for our officers. The conversation me and you are having, our police officers does a tremendous job of trying to help their officers understand their behavior every time they approach someone who may be from a different ethnic background. And us as people, us as Americans, us as citizens, we got to show respect. We also got to comply. That's a major topic on one of my events that I'm going to talk about, is how we were to comply with some of these incidents have happened. Then that draws up a lot.
What about any of them actually getting accurate therapy or PTSD counseling after? Because I know with military, right, you've got when you've been in any sort of situation, you're going to have PTSD, and so you walk up into a new situation, it looks very similar. They can react the wrong way, right? And so and from my experience as well, it's not common. You don't want to go and say, hey, I'm dealing with an issue. I'm suffering with PTSD from this issue, because now you're going to get taken off and sit at the desk. And so they're prevented within the system to get the help they need so that they can actually do their job like they intended, right? Like,
we can't forget about our officers, and psychiatric evaluation is always a thing with anyone who sees, even first responders who's out there and they're seeing a lot of these things that are going on currently in the world. Our officers, their staff and their immediate group of people that works with them, that's why it's a limited group. It's a large group, but limited within. They know best of their previous officers. What I mean by know best is they're used to seeing the behavior of officers. That's why it's always something that, a crime happens. You don't see the chief or somebody just jump to a conclusion because he understands, let me see the video. When we think of behavior situations, we need to put something in place to where all you officers are okay with getting evaluated. It's a day that you guys enjoy. It's something that, you couldn't wait for it to happen. This is not something that is going to demonize you. It's just like what we want to do when it comes to bringing more people into the police force. Is we want to show the
police. We're short, right?
And we're short. And what's crazy is, but yet and still in North Las Vegas and some of these places, we are apprehending so many people with so much illegal that a lot of these funds, and where's a lot of this stuff going at? We're going to take care of our police officers. We're going to take care of our law enforcement. We're going to be very competitive with rates and pay with the highest in the nation. We're going to make sure, Steve, that they have all the sophistication they need to continue to do their jobs and to police us in the right manner and not feel forced or feel unloved and unneeded while they're out there sacrificing their lives and family for us. So we're going to take care of our police officers. And I definitely want to implement some type of continual evaluation for them that works within the district, that they're not, oh no, scared to do it. No, we're going to find out. Or if you need the help, let's be preventative and let's do this and take care of it.
I think judges should be have a psychiatric evaluation before they become a judge anyways.
That too. We've seen a lot too.
Well, Mr. Lane, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Appreciate it.
This has been very, very enlightening. I mean, I learned something today.
Appreciate it, Steve.
So
you guys too as well.
I would like for you to look into the camera and tell folks why they should vote for you. And Mark is going to zoom in on you and why they should vote for you to be the next congressman for CD4.
Well, the reason why
Point of contact.
In my point of contact, definitely. The reason why Tony Lane should be your candidate for Congress in Congressional District 4 is because I'm an American First candidate who will restore our freedoms and our liberties here in our state of Nevada. Tony Lane has been here over 20 years. I've seen Vegas. I've been all over Nevada. We're a great state, battle-born state. Let's act like it. Let's get rid of these tyrannical leaders that want to consistently oppress us. They want to keep us locked down, don't want our voices to be heard, and they want to divide us as people for their political gains. Tony Lane has helped drain the swamp and, like I said, bring prosperity back to all of us in the United States, but most definitely here in Nevada and the city of Las Vegas and North Las Vegas and the surrounding cities. If you want to know more information from Tony Lane, you can go to my website at tonylaneforcongress.com. That's FORcongress.com. I'm always looking for volunteers. If you got any information that you would like for me to look up or to learn about or anything that you need to say to Tony Lane, I'm here. My job and goal is to represent you all if I make it to Congress, and I would proudly do that faithfully. And once again, I appreciate you, Steve. I appreciate you, Colette, and Veterans in Politics for all you do, for having me here today.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Thank you.
Ms. Morales, thank you for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your help. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Let's make it another beautiful Saturday.
All right. Folks, that's Veterans of Politics. That's Tony Lane, congressional candidate for Nevada's 4th District. This is Steve Sanson and Colette Morales with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.